Go right here, and the best of luck to both runners.
Yes, very much. Cuphead is a game that if you take it too lightly, it can and will mess you up. So both these runners will need to use all of their skills, all of their training in this game to get forward. And yeah. Okay, so one thing off the bat that I'm noticing is you'll see a difference in the timer. Oh, I guess Scoutman's disappeared. There for a second, looks like Scoutman was using the auto splitter and was running off of in-game time, which is why there's a small pause there. Looks like we got that taken care of, though.
Yeah, just to remind all the audience that the timers on screen are more like for reference. All the races are being timed via SRL. So,
Ihrving's making a decent. Oh, I guess maybe, and not to interrupt, but
no, don't worry.
Scoutman getting the early tutorial exit, being able to exit to map right as you exit the door. This is allowed in Glitchless because we kind of see it as just an early level exit, which we do with the planes. And successfully pulled it off. It allows you to keep the coin, but it looks like Ihrving missed it and had to go back. Did it a little too early. Had to go back and do the tutorial again to get that coin. So already he's at a very slight disadvantage here.
Yeah, so to be able to do that early exit, you need, the animation for Cuphead getting out of the door needs to happen. You need to press start by then and click the exit to map. If you do it too early, like you say, you will be able to exit to map anyway, but you won't have the coin. And you need the coin to get the spread shooter, which we're going to see both runners using it towards almost all the boss fights here.
Yeah, and you did mention that I think both of them did pick up the spread shot, so it'll be interesting to see how these runs compare. The question did get asked in one of the earlier races. There is and can be a very significant difference in the weapon you pick. For this category, spread is by far the best in terms of being able to output the most damage and being able to thus kill the bosses quicker. But you can pretty much use whatever you're comfortable with.
Yeah, definitely. Like, especially in a tournament setup, since you have to be consistent more than like just fast, you have to be as consistent as possible because you don't have any resets or any retries or anything like that. Any mistake here, it's going to count towards your final result, and you just want to be faster than your opponent.
Right. And some weapons taking a lot more coins to collect, so that will also change your route as well if you go for one of those later weapons like Charge. But for the base, any of those first three, you can get it just by doing the tutorial and talking to the Apple guy.
John's getting a little bit of trouble here with the frogs. Let's see if maybe Ihrving can catch up a little bit. If I don't know if he's gonna go for strats to try to skip the second phase here. If he does, the match is gonna come super close again.
So
It is. Sorry.
I was gonna say it looks like we are missing sound right now, and so I don't know if somebody is already on that or not. But yes, we are aware that there is no sound right now. Anyway, yeah, as you were saying,
We can try to imitate the sound a little bit here. No.
I'm not familiar enough with this song to be able to do it. Maybe if it was Cagney.
I'm not so good with sound effects, so we're just gonna try to commentate. Meanwhile, guys, let's see if we can get the audio back. I think Ihrving is getting a little bit more of a clean fight against the frogs right here. So if he doesn't die, he's gonna cut up some distance between the two of them. They're both just not too far away, and still like so many part of the game is left that this is still anybody's game at this point. It's so early to tell if anybody has a real advantage or not right now.
Yeah, that's for sure. Like I said, that setback Ihrving had with the tutorial definitely cost him a little bit of time, but not much. Already finishing up the frogs and moving on to Goopy next, which Scoutman is about a third to halfway through.
Yep.
So still very close race. Awesome. We got sound back.
There you go.
Really great because the soundtrack in this game is phenomenal. We were actually talking earlier about what songs are our favorite and whatnot. Generally, I think Floral Fury, Cagney's Fight, and there's one more I can't remember. I think Dragon tended to be the favorites within the community, whereas the least favorites tended to range between Call and Calamaria.
Yeah, Cagney definitely a popular choice towards the favorite song of the game. Ooh, Ihrving needs to be careful here. He was playing kind of risky right there. He's only got 1 HP left, so he's got to be careful with the Tomb attack here. It can be a little bit tricky sometimes, but okay, he's gonna be good. There you go.
Oh, there you go. I was gonna say, are we gonna see another Justin and keep getting those 1 HP finishes?
Oh yeah, that's gonna be the Justin technique from now on.
So John is moving on here to the first plane fight in the game against Hilda Berg. Right now, we're only equipped with a minigun or machine gun, whatever you want to call it, that you see Scoutman using right now. Later on, the players will have the option to pick up bombs, though whether you do or not seems to be a very personal choice. Some people like getting them, some people don't. Can definitely help, but if you're not going to use them, it's a couple seconds that will just put you behind a PB or your opponent in this case.
Yeah, and it's not only picking them, but you gotta know how to use them to actually get advantage of those like few seconds that it can save.
Yeah, it's a lot more useful in Legacy, where you have things like the off-screen hitbox on Jimmy, where they took that out in the patch that makes the bomb significantly less useful.
And the WSG for sure.
Oh yeah, that's true too. So, Scoutman getting a nice kill on Hilda, again with 1 HP. What is it? I guess it just goes to show you that even the experienced runners tend to, get hit. Although, to be fair, in Hilda there is a lot of damage boosting going on for optimal strats. So if you're not taking 2 hits as she is getting ready to transform into her forms, you're not doing this as optimally as possible.
Yeah, that's right. Hill is one of those bosses that she's already hard, but also to do all of the damage boost strats to kill it the most optimal as possible. Yeah, it can definitely kill a lot of fronts very early on.
One thing I didn't know until fairly recently was that in Hilda's third phase here, that the UFOs are actually different colors. There are brown ones and red ones, and those will tell you when they use their tractor beam relative to your position on the screen. It's something I was too concerned with dodging those and the stars, I never picked up on that until someone mentioned it.
Yeah, so for those of you that don't know, for the red ones, you want to be in front of them. The beam is going to spawn on your back. And for the kind of like gold ones, you want to stay on the back of them because the beam is going to spawn in front of you. So that's a way to kind of avoid them. And it's one of the things that you gotta be aware to properly kill Hilda and don't be caught up. Like already watching the stars and watching the moon and all that can be a little bit tricky. But it's just like one more thing that you have to be aware of when fighting Hilda.
And so John finishing off Cagney there, getting ready to go on to Aisle 2. And while Ihrving is finishing the fight, or moving on to Phase 2 just about, I think now would be a good time to discuss that this is on current patch. And what does that mean in terms of the route?
Okay, so first of all, you're gonna be seeing different weapons. Like you see spread shot and pea shooter on current patch. Main reason, well, also because this is glitchless, and it's because also most of the glitches are removed in the current patch. In the past, in Legacy, if you were running this but with glitches, you would normally see Roundabout and Lover. And if you was running this without glitches, in the past you would see Charge Shot, but Charge Shot was also nerfed, so it's not really worth getting it anymore. So I think that's
Yeah,
one of the big differences, the guns that they're gonna be using towards the run.
for sure. And the patch itself removed a lot of things. Like I said, pretty much glitchless in a sense is, or I should rather say that current patch is mostly glitchless.
Ooh,
That
we're pretty
Beppy
much
death.
tight now.
It's getting just. Oh, and
Oh,
Ihrving's going to Baroness first.
yeah.
That's an
I wonder if he's
interesting
gonna take
choice.
up the bombs.
Yeah, I would if I were him, but that's just my personal preference. I do like having those bombs. It can be very useful, especially on the bird.
Yeah, it definitely makes a more safe way to kill the bird at the very last phase in Wily Warbles, which we're gonna see in like a couple more bosses. And the last phase can be definitely easier when you have the bombs. So let's see if Ihrving decides to take the bombs. Seeing that he decided to go for the Baroness Bonbon first.
Getting very good RNG on those too, except for maybe the muffin or cupcake, whatever it is. You know, the one's a waffle. I always thought it was a chocolate bar for some reason. Like clearly, I don't know my desserts or my breakfast.
It was like a hot cake, maybe a squirt hot cake.
But getting fairly good RNG on those mini bosses onto the last stage, just as Scoutman is on the last stage of Beppy. So it'd be interesting to, oh, and there he finishes. So I was gonna say it would be interesting to see
Whoa!
who finishes first, and Ihrving taking a death. And
That
that's
was a
gonna
very costly death.
very they were practically neck and neck. And now Scoutman is going to be pretty much a whole boss ahead. Maybe half a boss by the time he actually enters the stage, but
Yeah, it's because also the death for Ihrving costed more time than the death from Scoutman because of how far he was already on the boss.
yeah, that's true. That's one thing with Cuphead, and especially with the later fights, that they tend to be fairly long. And so, I mean, all deaths are costly, but if you die at the end of a fight, you're losing a minute plus. I mean, it's even up to 2 minutes on King Dice if you die right at the end. So I'm not saying die. I mean, clearly no one wants to die during a run, but if you were to die doing it at the beginning of the fight, would be preferred.
Yeah, that's for sure. Like you said, no, that is definitely always preferred, but if you were to die, doing it at the beginning is better. And he has to be careful here because he's got 1 HP again. Oh, there he goes. He clutches it out.
Right at something dinged. And Scoutman going on to who's dinging is that? I don't think that's mine.
I don't
I guess
think that's mine either.
it might be Ihrving. So we are getting his audio. So I apologize about that. It looks like Ihrving is going to get. And he'll be off the Jimmy. Whereas Scoutman is on Jimmy's last phase. So again, just about one boss. A little less than a boss separating the two runners right now.
Yep.
And you're right, Atsy, that is the sound of Steam Chat.
Oh, got it. Not so used with that chat. I don't have many friends on Steam. All right, so coming back here, we see that Ihrving was able to get a full 5EX attack at the very beginning of the Jimmy. I think that's usually what you would prefer to have to optimize your EX meter. But it's pretty hard. Usually, you only get it when you get the attack where he throws a lot of things from his treasure box, because he throws a lot of pink items from it. So if you parry maybe 2 of those, you can get the 5EX attack and throw it at the very first phase. And we saw that this phase was super fast because of that.
And looking at Scoutman's screen, getting some pretty good minions on Bonbon. Actually getting the same first pattern, I believe, that Ihrving did. Doing the gumball, the candy corn, then the muffin.
Ihrving is doing some risky strats right here. He's getting a pretty nice and clean Jimmy fight.
Yeah, that's always real nice. The question is, can he pull it out without taking one hit? And
there it is.
There it is. Meanwhile, Scoutman getting ready to finish up Bonbon. Very good timing on that, actually. But he'll be moving on to Wally Warbles, whereas Ihrving will have to dip back down and pick up Beppy because he went to Baroness first. Well, still a very tight race. I mean, I can't emphasize enough how close this is. Just a single death or two in the wrong place can really equalize this. And there is still quite a few, or there are still quite a few bosses left to go. I think there's 19 in the entire game if you count the Devil and King Dice. And we're only, I guess, Scoutman's on number 9.
Yeah,
so
we're
still...
like kind of like halfway through the run. In regards of bosses, just keeping in mind that the bosses at the end are like longer. So we are almost, I would say, about half the run overall. Let's see how this Wally Warbles treats JohnScoutman. Ideally, you want at the very end phase of Wally Warbles. He's gonna be on a bed. He's super damaged, and you want that bed to go to the right for it to be easier. Because if he goes to the left, you're gonna get trapped in like one little corner. And seeing that he only has 1 HP left right now, that can be pretty tricky. He might save that 5EX attack for the very last phase just to be safe in case of emergency, I guess.
Yeah, that's certainly what I would do in that situation. I mean, I don't like that third phase, but this fourth phase is much worse.
Yeah, he's got that bad luck.
And this is one of those instances where I mentioned the bombs can be very useful, as you see right now. You saw there that Scoutman was forced above the bird, thus making, in that position, the bombs the only real way to hit him. At that point, you would either, if you wanted to use the guns, have to wait for the heart to shoot out of his mouth, or get back in the corner and shoot him from underneath, which does limit your mobility as well, so it's pretty risky. But now, I mean, because of that death, we have, like I said, a closer race. We're about 1.5 phases apart right now. So, you know, give our runner some love. I mean, it's not an easy game. This fight in particular is not easy. It's a very close race. They're doing very well. So make sure go give them some love, give them a follow, let them know how much you enjoyed watching their race.
Yeah, this is definitely one of those like fights that if you do everything properly, it can look kind of easy, but things can just snowball in against you by any minor mistake that you do in this run, because you have to be very careful with your health management, especially for that very last phase, which we see John had a little bit of better RNG this time. It went to the right first, and even though with 1 HP he was able to close it out. And now Ihrving, he's getting the bird going to the left, and like you mentioned, getting those bombs is paying off right now. because he's not having the trouble that John had on this fight because of that. He was able to keep the hits going on, and he's about to close this fight out now. There you go.
Ooh, I was worried that that bomb would go off a little too earlier before that hitbox got active. A good fight on both runners' part, though. It was very close, down to 1 HP each when they finished. And John getting to what many people would be or consider one of the first true run killers, I think, of the route, would be Grim Matchstick. Not an awful boss, but one that if you're not prepared for, can really mess you up.
Yeah, pretty much you wanna get on to the very last phase with like no damage at all. If you have 2 HP in the very last phase, you most likely are gonna be fine. But if you get with 2 HP or maybe just 1, it's gonna be tricky. And these little flames can cause a lot of trouble because they kind of predict sometimes your movement, and you're trying to jump and they're just gonna land wherever you went.
Yeah, you can bait them a little bit, but sometimes they don't play nice.
Yeah. Or sometimes the platforms don't play nice either. Those clouds are completely RNG, so you just have to react to whatever you keep getting.
Yeah, and the scarier part is on Expert. These platforms actually move in the opposite direction. So they move instead of right to left, go left to right. So that first phase, you're actually moving toward the boss, and the other 2 phases, you're actually moving away from. It changes things up quite a bit.
With that dead, man, we see Ihrving taking the lead here.
Not a very solid lead, mind you, because they're still only 2 phases apart, but that is our first real lead change of this race. It just goes to show you that anything can happen. Oh, there we go with the knockout. Phase 3 is easy with the lobber. It's certainly easier, I should say. I don't want to call anything in this game inherently easy, but much easier with the lobber. But lobber isn't generally used in this category for various reasons. I think the 2 most common would be the spread, which both of the racers are using, or my personal favorite would be the roundabout. It's a little slower, but it affords you some extra mobility and range that the spread you can't really get with. But John entering a very dangerous part of the fight here, going into phase 3 with only 1 health.
Ooh, and he takes another unfortunate death right there.
Yes. The main issue with the Dragon's phase 3 is those fireballs that he spits out. If you hit one of those on accident with any sort of bullet whatsoever, it will split into multiple directions. And so you may think you're safe using an EX, and then all of a sudden you get bad luck and he shoots out a fireball and you get nailed.
Yeah, and you lose your damage output and you get hit at the same time.
Yeah, that's one thing. Neither of our runners going for supers in this route. Those have been pretty much relegated to the 100% and pretty much 100%, I would say. I don't think any other route uses them.
The mausoleums?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're not going to see any of those, but even like the super, you aren't inherently invincible while using it. And so you just gotta be very careful. See, Ihrving moving into stage 3. Oh, okay. Well, that was a really quick stage 3 of Honeycomb, or Honeybottom, I believe. It is possible, even in current patch, to get an early kill on her and skip that phase 3 entirely. This is something we do allow in the category. We don't see it as a glitch. It's just more of a you do so much damage and the way the health works that it kills her before she transitions. But on current patch, those kind of things, if possible, are very hard to do because of being limited in how much damage you can do without the weapon swap glitch.
Yeah, it's just doing as much damage as possible, like with intended ways. And like you mentioned, some of those are like pretty hard because you pretty much have to be on the face of the boss like the whole time. And sometimes that's like definitely risky because that's where they're throwing attacks at you or stuff like that. And we see Ihrving taking a retry here because he took like two very early damage on Carl's robot here.
And we did
Uh,
see Scoutman doing that a little bit ago on the dragon. Yeah, an early hit and just retrying.
yeah, and I think that's definitely a smart choice because you can just go YOLO, maybe risk it. You might get through, but if you get one more hit, let's say at the very end of the boss, you're gonna end up losing more time than just hitting a retry at the very beginning.
Yeah, and especially on these two bosses in particular, being very notorious choke points for run. But we see Scoutman finally getting past Dragon with a time of 127 in game. And so he'll be on to Honey Bottom, as we see Ihrving trying to finish off Dr. Call.
He
Now there
should
is
be
a.
done
Oh yeah, just about.
in a second, I guess. What are you gonna say? Sorry.
I was going to say that in Legacy, there is. So this tends to be one of the longer boss fights, as you can see. But if you're playing the Legacy version, then somebody, I think someone mentioned yesterday that it was Fract who found it. But there is a way with very precise damage output, then you can actually skip phase 2 and 3 entirely. We're not quite sure how it works. I think the theory is that you do so much damage when the game doesn't expect you to that it just kind of freaks out and just finishes it off early.
Mm.
Which is what happens on simple. It's on regular, but it turns the fight basically into the simple in terms of length. And so you can reduce your times with that trick to, I mean, even as low as 15 seconds.
Yeah, which is insane. That's crazy fast.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Especially for one of those like bosses that is pretty hard. And I mean, getting that glitch is also kind of hard to like set it up properly and not dying at the same time. So we're seeing here Sally stage play, throwing some toys, some milk from his kid.
Scoutman, not to interrupt, but Scoutman getting a very quick kill on the bee. Didn't even get down to the bottom of the screen in the plane.
Yeah, that was definitely the best way you want to kill honey bottoms right there. Oh, that like 4 or 5 parries at the start at the same time.
Crazy.
Doing that parry combo right there.
Ihrving doing very well. I think we've only seen 1 or 2 deaths from them. I think.
Yeah, I think it's about 2 maybe.
Doing.
But keeping a pretty good pace right now.
Oh, very much so. And to give him credit, Scoutman is catching up. I mean, as bad as his dragon was, he's only about a boss and a half, boss and 2/3 behind. Still anyone's game, though.
Yeah, considering what happened at Dragon, this is definitely not that far away. And again, like we have mentioned so many times, it's just one dead can just swing things apart again. He has to be careful here at Robot though. He's just 1 HP going into the final phase. And it can be very tricky. I mean, usually you know what the bullets are doing and you can kind of avoid them pretty easily, but then the platforms come out as well, and you have to be just very careful not to be stuck in a bad situation with just 1 HP. It's better take it safe here.
Yeah. Because not only do you have the bullets to watch out for, but you do have those electric fences as well.
Yep.
And sometimes those can be very hard to see when you're trying to play bullet hell.
Nice 5EX there to do some invulnerability and avoid some damage, and I think he's gonna get through. Yeah, he's through. Car Robot, nice.
Great.
Oh, and
Ooh.
then on the other side we see Ihrving taking a dead here at Werman. That's hard for me to pronounce.
You know, it's hard for me to pronounce too. I just usually refer to him as Tom and Jerry for
Yeah,
obvious reasons.
that's what I was telling 2C Plus earlier today. He said the same thing. I was like, yeah, for me it's just Tom and Jerry.
Yeah,
I just
it's
tried to say the real name.
yeah. I always find it interesting just to see the various names we come up with as a community for some of these bosses. I mean,
Yeah, some of them are pretty good.
yeah, for Call, for instance, I either refer to him as the Iron Giant or Dr. Wowie.
Oh yeah, definitely the Iron Giant is what I have, and also one that most people ask me about is Guppy Grande. I put him Ariana Grande because of the last name.
I never thought about that.
Yeah. So let's see. He's also again with just 1 HP on the last phase here. He has to be careful, and he takes another death right there. So this is a good
Yeah.
opportunity for John to cut as much time as possible here, while Ihrving is stuck at Tom and Jerry.
Although John just taking a second hit there, so he's gonna have to be careful.
Definitely careful. Especially, he has to be aware about this big wave and the lightning having that meteor to the right. And this dash is gonna be tricky. Yeah, I knew that dash was gonna be tricky because he was super close to Sally.
Yeah. But both of them starting their respective fights at about the same time. So just about a boss apart still. Warner throwing out those cherry bombs.
Let's see, he might take it a little bit slower here because he already took one hit. But he's still going on his face right there. And that didn't pay off that much because he took another 1 damage. So let's see how he handles this like last 2 phases.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's going to be a smart move to keep going with that. I probably would have retried myself, but he looks to be handling it fairly well right now. Still have one entire phase left.
Okay, and we see JohnScoutman again with 1 HP at this stage of Sally. So they're both pretty much in the same situation they were a moment ago, and John dies again while Ihrving is able to clear Werman this time.
So one thing you might notice Ihrving is doing with the EX on the spread is he's jumping into the face of the cat, or he was, I should say, just finished the fight. He was jumping into the face of the cat. Because the way the spread EX works is that it's a radial attack going out in 8 directions, and each one of those bullets does damage. So in order to maximize the DPS with the super, or the EX, I should say, you want to be able to hit the boss with all 8 of those. And so if you jump right in the middle of its hitbox and launch it, then you're able to do that. And you've probably seen that throughout the run here and there at times, depending on the boss.
Yeah, sometimes you even like take damage on purpose to be able to throw those EX attacks as to get all the 80 directions hitting at the same time.
Yeah, the example that comes to mind on that would be Goopy. I think a lot of people tend to, in that first phase change, take some intentional damage to get off a couple super blasts.
Yep. And we saw another death from John over there on Sally.
Yeah.
Very unfortunate right now, and Ihrving is just like taking a little bit larger lead, but we saw another death here from in Brinivert from Ihrving as well. So just to showcase how like actually hard the game is, even if you speedrun the game, it can still like take some deaths from every speedrunner here.
For sure. Now we did see Ihrving getting some very good animal RNG. Getting a shark on the first call and the squid on the second. But getting fairly unlucky and getting the dogfish here.
Yeah, especially with already those cannonballs being shot at of the boat and all that is going on the screen, and getting the dogfish is not good at the end of this first phase of Bird.
Scoutman finally finishing Sally stage play. He'll be on the Tom and Jerry. As Ihrving is approaching the transition to Briney's last phase.
He's got to be pretty careful here.
Yeah, this is still not exactly safe. Actually, a very sticky situation here.
Oh, yeah.
Being tucked that close to the boat with the laser still going and the barrel ready to drop on you at any moment, not a good position for Ihrving to be in.
Definitely not. And if John manages to kill this Werner Bremen without any deaths, he's gonna cut out a lot of time. Like, this race is getting towards the end of the island tree, and it's getting closer and closer.
Ihrving taking a hit from the dogfish mid-air, already down to P.
He's gotta be careful here. Ooh.
Very much so. This is one of the major things with the briny fight, is
And
that
another dogfish. Sorry.
There's a lot happening all at once. I mean, you have Briny himself shooting at you. You have the barrel crate, whatever it is, the chest up top, ready to drop on you at different periods. Eventually, you start getting the animals thrown in there, depending on which one you get. Plus, you have the boat starting to launch cannonballs at you. So you're trying to deal with 4 different attacks that can theoretically all happen at the same time.
Yep. And those shoots that Brini throws at you when he pulls up his, like, gun, I want to say, I don't know what it really is, like an octopus or something, they kind of track you. They track you where you are the moment he shoots you. So you have to be very careful with those as well.
John's making up some good time here, getting through Tom and Jerry. He'll be on to Bryony, so this is down to less than a boss fight difference right now, depending on how well Ihrving, if he can finish off this fight on 1 HP. One thing you might notice in the background, pay attention for it on John's screen too, is during that transition, you actually see the boat throw Bryony off of it, and you can see him dive into the sea in the background, kind of mid-screen.
Oh, really?
Bit of a graphical thing I never noticed until about a month or 2 ago.
I have never noticed that. I mean, I knew, of course, that he was thrown out of the boat, but I didn't know that he was on the background still.
Yeah, I think I was doing trying to finish off some expert stuff, and I just happened to see like this dark streak go across the middle of the screen about that time. I was like, oh wait, that's Bryony.
There's always so much stuff happening in a lot of bosses that sometimes it's hard to notice those little details that happen, like, most of the times in most fights.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, and in a fight like this where you're constantly dodging things and there's so much happening, it's little things like that that will go unnoticed for the longest time.
Yeah, but definitely shoutouts to the developers of this game for doing so amazing job at even very tiny little details everywhere.
Yeah, I mean the game's been out, I think it came out late September, and I'm still completely blown away by just how beautiful it looks. Like, sometimes I'll just pull it up and just look at it and like, there's no way this is an actual game. Like, it's too beautiful. Like, what the heck?
Yeah.
Okay, Ihrving on to the second to last boss from Aisle 3, Calamaria. Actually, moving on to Phase 2 right there. And this is where she turns into her Medusa phase. And so not only do you have to dodge the bullet hell eels, but you also have to dodge her stone gaze, which you can actually do just by getting up right in her face. Looks like Ihrving's on Phase 3 now, while Scoutman is getting ready to move on to Phase 1 as soon as he gets into the overworld. So the gap between these two getting closer and closer.
And he just got a little bit closer with yet another death right here in Calamaria and Phase. That one was a costly one right there.
Yeah, this is one of those fights I definitely want to spend as little time on as possible.
I agree with that, yeah. It can get very, very tricky, especially that end phase on that narrow passage. It can be very tricky trying to avoid all this stuff in just a narrow space.
Yeah, and much like Bryony, I mean, Calamaria has a distinct set of attacks that you can tell based on what pops on screen. So they have definite tells, but they can overlap as well. So I think my least favorite would be when she does the puffer fish and spits the ghost at her.
The ghost, yeah, I agree with that. That's my least favorite combination as well.
I mean, not only do you have to, because the ghosts kind of home in on you. There, at least very briefly, when they first enter the screen. And so it can be very hard to deal with when you're trying to navigate the narrow passages between pufferfish.
Ooh.
Ooh. So technically, Scoutman does have a small lead here. It looks like he's still at 3 HP as well, if I can see that. Oh, just took a hit. So now he's down to 2.
Yeah,
Scoutman.
Sorry,
I was gonna say he's playing it safe a little bit and sticking toward the far left of the screen, which most of the advanced runners will move to the right. But it paid off because he did and was able to finish her off and officially has the lead now.
Yeah, he was able to capitalize his lead now with that. He needed to get that kill on Calamaria to be able to get back on the lead, and we have yet another switch on leading here. And it's gonna come out to just the last 3 bosses here, being this a super, super close race right here. Very, very, very similar skill level between these 2 runners. I'm very happy of this race right now.
Very much so. I think the key thing for John right now is that he needs to just keep the pressure on the game. I mean, there's only 3 bosses left, but they are some of the longest, toughest bosses in the entire game. And if he starts taking it a bit too easy, then the game will catch up to him and will wall him for quite a while.
Definitely, yep. And this one right here is one of the most unique bosses in my opinion. It's just so different, each phase from each other phase. It's like a different boss each time. And it can get very, very tricky, so you just want to take as less damage as possible between the first 2 sections, at least.
Yeah, what Ihrving needs to do right here, too, is kind of chill out. I mean, at this point, you've been on Calamaria for quite a while. Certainly, the frustration is a factor here. But if you start letting that get to you, then the game will start getting to you, and you will make small mistakes that will prevent you from moving forward, or very easily at least.
Yeah, because like you mentioned, he needs to shield because he's again with just 1 HP at the very, very end phase of Calamaria. He has been here a couple times already. But he's saving his 5 EX attack this time to kind of tank some damage like that, be invincible. Let's see, he got it.
Oh, I was going to say, I don't know if that actually hit her or the spikes, but it might have been close enough to damage her anyway, but...
Yeah, usually that attack damages like a whole area around it. It's not just what it hits at the beginning, it's just whatever it's in a certain radius. So even if you don't hit Calamaria per se, if she was close enough to the area of the damage, she's gonna get damage anyway.
Alright. Scoutman onto the train's final form, but again with 1 HP, so we'll see if he can pull this off. Looks pretty good right now. The key thing is going to be watching out for those rings, and he successfully does that. He will be the first one to move on to Hell.
About to fight King Dice. Let's see what choices he makes on King Dice.
So if you have not seen Cuphead before, King Dice is, I think, easily the most unique boss in the game. You don't actually fight King Dice until the very end of the fight. going through his phases, it's a lot like Baroness in a sense where you fight mini bosses. And which boss you fight depends on how you move along a certain path, which you'll see the Scoutman do here in a moment by pairing a die, I guess technically. So I think in this situation, if I was playing it safe, I would probably go 3, 5, 8, just to get those 2 extra hearts.
Yeah, the cigar, which is the number 3, is not that bad compared to the ships. It just takes a little bit more HP, but it's an easy fight. And considering that there was a heart over there, it would have probably been a smart choice right there. But taking this road wouldn't be that problematic either, as long as he doesn't take any damage.
Yeah, the first 2 bosses, or I think the most prevalent one would be number 2, the chips right here, followed by number 3, which I don't know if Ihrving is going to do or not. But the typical route through here is, I think, 2, 4, 8 on AV Glitchless. Another common one would be 3, 5, 8. Generally, you want to stay away from 1 and 6. Definitely get away from 7.
And
if
9.
If we weren't doing current patch, we would throw 9 in there for sure. But since this is current patch, we want to avoid 9 at all costs as well.
Yeah, 9 is probably one of the ones that take the longest because of the little mini game within it to be able to kill it.
Definitely one of the most unique ones, but yeah, definitely a lot.
And like you said, he's taking 2 and then 4. He's not going the road of the hearts, he's just going the road of what it's more consistent and faster for him here. So let's see, that should pay off, I think.
Yeah, and actually someone in chat noticed, Falcon says that King Dice feels like a callback to Gunstar Hero. I would not know about that because I've never played Gunstar Heroes, but I've heard that comparison quite a bit, actually. And that's something too, if you really start looking at Cuphead, you'll see a lot of inspiration. Clearly from old animation. I think, for instance, Grim Matchstick is named after a famous animator. But with the bosses and the mechanics, you'll see a lot taken from well-known video game franchises. So the frogs being, for instance, Ken and Ryu from Street Fighter. And I think even someone mentioned in one of the earlier races that the slot machine attacks are reminiscent of a couple other characters from Street Fighter.
Yeah, like the last 4 bosses, like the secret or hidden characters. And also, like, for example, Goopy Legrande being inspired on the slimes from like Dragon Quest and stuff like that, which is like one of the first encounters you get in a lot of RPGs.
Yeah, and the one that always stuck out to me was actually Sally. There with her mouse wind-up car attack, reminded me a lot of Plugman from Mega Man 9.
Got it.
The way the balls move around the screen.
Yeah, definitely a lot of Easter eggs and inspiration from many, many things summing up this to an amazing game here.
Looks like Ihrving is going to the cigar, so let's see that boss. It is possible, actually, and I think I was the first one to find this, that it is possible to one-cycle the cigar with good RNG.
In this category?
Not in this category. I believe that was came out, so it would have been the legacy stuff. But, yeah, basically doing what Ihrving's doing here, sneaking behind the dice. You don't want to, or the cigar, you don't want to do it too early. Oh, did he just get it?
Yeah, that was a pretty good one.
Really good cigar fight there. You have to be careful if you get behind him because he will turn and face the other way.
Oh yeah. You have to. It's better just to take 1 damage there.
And if you're careful about it, you can. I think I might have used the smoke dash for it, but it is possible to get behind him actually without taking that damage. But I think once even the column of ash is, has a hitbox to it, so.
Yeah, I think that's. I don't want to say frame perfect, but it's definitely very precise. You have to like dash to behind the cigar almost at the same time that he's coming up. so that you don't get hit, but he's also facing the opposite direction from you. And this is an interesting choice right here, picking up number 6. I didn't notice if maybe there was a heart on one of the spaces here, and maybe that's why he shows this.
I guess we'll see, because there's a heart per section. Meanwhile, I completely missed Scoutman getting to the devil.
Yeah, he's already there. He's already in the devil.
Yeah, it looks like 6 would have been a heart. So
Yeah,
interesting choice there.
Yeah, just trying to play it a little bit safer then. I think that's a fair choice in for a race to deroute a little bit on your king dice usual thing, just to get an extra heart if you feel comfortable that way, and if you're like fairly familiar with other king dice mini boss fights. I don't think anybody would switch number 8 though. Doesn't matter if there's a heart or not.
I mean, yeah, hard or not, then the other ones just take way too much time.
And we see a dead here in the devil.
Oh yeah. So Ihrving getting ready to go fight King Dice himself, assuming he can get past the start over trap.
The start over trap and just 1 HP at the very end.
Oh yeah, that'd be even worse.
So that heart paid off, otherwise he would have died already.
Yeah, that is true as well. It has to be really careful. Oh.
Ooh.
So it has to be really careful there. But that's going to set him back quite a ways.
Yeah, that's probably the most costly dead in the whole run. Especially when you're measuring time with loads. That takes long time right there. I want to say like 3 or 4 minutes maybe. Like considering loads.
To the next phase of the devil. It's got 2 more phases after this, but none of which are too particularly difficult. I think the next one may be more so than the final. But going in with 3 HP, he's in a very good place to finish this race off right now.
And he even goes and killed that minion on the right side to be a little bit more safe.
Yeah, this close, I think I would be certainly concerned with being safe, getting through this, because this is not a fight either that you want to restart. Going on to the last phase there.
Yeah, last phase with 2 HP. I think we're gonna be ready for a close-up. If nothing... Oh, and there it is.
There it is. JohnScoutman finishing with an SRL time of 52:09. GG, Scoutman.
GG indeed, John. GG.
Let's see if he wants to come in for a little bit of a post-race interview.
Well, we see Ihrving here taking a retry because he got damaged again. He was down to 1 HP and he was still missing the very end section plus King Dice, so he decided just to retry. He didn't want to go ahead and try again with just 1 HP until the very end, because we saw that kind of cost him at the beginning. Big death here. And he's gonna do it again. He's gonna go and retry once again.
Well, yeah. So while we have a little bit of a lull, the action, with Scoutman winning, he will go on to face Caliva in the next round, who was ranked 2nd of the people who signed up to participate. So very high seed. We're expecting a lot out of that race. As we are for all the races, but that's going to be a good matchup, I think.
Yeah, and Kellerman, in my opinion, definitely one of those that could potentially be the winner of the tournament. He's been having amazing times in many categories right now. And like you mentioned, being 2nd in the seed place race, it's a really good feat to start the tournament.
Yeah, and Caliban actually holding 5th on the leaderboard with a 33.5 minute without load time.
That's a pretty good time.
Yeah, definitely a force to be reckoned with in this tournament. But as we can see, anything can and will happen if you let it. So we're going to go ahead and pull John in here.
I'm in.
Oh, you're in. Awesome. Oh, GG.
Yeah, I thought I
Congratulations.
was gonna lose.
There were some times we thought so as well. I mean, it was a
It went back
very
and
hard
forth,
call.
really.
Yeah, I went back and forth like many times. Probably like the lead changed like 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, I think it changed for the first time there around Wally, and then in aisle 3 you started gaining ground. I think finally passing him on Calamaria, I believe.
Yeah,
So you're right up until the end. It was very close.
I think Kala was just where, because I killed their first try, it's just like I got back in it. It's if I had died, then it'd probably be really close.
Well, with the way you played the final bosses, I don't know. We still might have seen the same result.
So how you felt towards like the whole race, John?
I think it was very fun. This is actually my first time completing the category, and it was great to do it in a race format and end up winning.
Well, congratulations on PV then, I guess as well.
Actually, my splits were messed up, so I can't even save it.
Oh no, Ihrving getting the start over.
Once a second round.
Luckily, he does not, if he does the same path, does not have to refight those bosses. But definitely has the potential to accidentally fight more.
So
But
we're
on the
gonna.
plus side too, he doesn't actually have to worry about the start over again. That's a one-time thing.
Yep. I was gonna ask John the like now obligatory question here. What do you think was your worst fight, and what do you think was your best fight?
I think Grim Matchstick was definitely the worst. I died at least 4 times. And my best fight, I thought I did well on one Kala because that brought me back in this. And I also liked my Hilda. I think that was a 114. That might not be good overall, but for me, I really liked 114.
Hey,
And
114 is definitely good for tournament.
And speaking of tournaments and races, some breaking news that Ihrving has officially forfeited from this race. It always sucks to see, especially being this close. But GG all around.
Yeah, GG. Let's show some love for Ihrving as well. He did have a pretty good run towards the end, and he kept up a pretty good race all the time.
Yeah, I was nervous for a while. He put up a good race, definitely.
Let's see if he wants to join here. Talk about his thoughts on the race. It seems like he's gonna join. So let's see what is his feelings competing in a tournament and playing Cuphead in a tournament environment here.
In the meantime, while we're waiting for this, I did allude to this earlier in the stream, but gotta ask as well: what is your favorite and least favorite soundtrack or boss fight music in the game?
This is not fully based off of the music, but I don't like Ruby and Croaks because I'd say the most annoyed on Ruby and Croaks because it's right at the beginning of the run and there's a lot of RNG aspects to it. And so that music just it becomes like it just gets in my head and then it's kind of like taunting, I guess. And my favorite soundtrack, I actually think Grimm's, despite him being a hard boss for this category, I liked Grimm's soundtrack. and the artwork.
Awesome. Well, it looks like we should have Ihrving in the chat now. Welcome, Ihrving. I guess he's muted, so he'll hear us, I hope. So, what do you think about having to fight Calvin in the next round?
I don't know much about Calvin, and as of right now, I'm just looking forward to it. And win or lose, I think I'll just still have fun. I'm not really. I'm competitive, but not to the point where it'll ruin anything, you know?
Right. Okay, I think Ihrving, we got the thing figured out. So welcome, Ihrving.
Hello.
Oh, GG.
Yeah, GG, John.
GG.
GG to you as well.
Yeah, a bit of a rough one, I must admit.
But a very good one all around. I mean, we're talking with Scoutman here. There were some very close calls. A couple times when the lead switched between the two of you. I mean, it was neck and neck for a very good portion of this race. Very well played.
Oh yeah, I'm very proud of how I did today. It's just some mistakes that need to be fixed, that's all.
Well, as we know, this is a double elimination bracket, so you still have time to practice and try to come back from that. But overall, what are your feelings competing in a tournament environment in Cuphead like this?
It's completely new for me. This is the first kind of tournament setting I've done for speedrunning in general. All in all, it's pretty nerve-wracking, to be honest. I was pretty much anxious the entire time, but still a fun experience altogether.
So talk to us a little bit about your run. Were there any moments that you were particularly proud of? Anything that you wish you'd go redo and kind of wipe off the record?
Everything past Werner. I mean, if we're gonna be real, I thought everything was going well. Of course, the first I missed the coin in the beginning. That was sad. But yeah, I would love to wipe off. I would love to go back and redo Warner. I thought that the biggest close call for me was on Honey Bottom. Right at the end, there was a fist that was right about to hit me, and I almost had a heart attack.
Yeah, both of you, I should say, got very nice early phase 3 kills on Honey Bottom. So very good job on that.
At first, actually, I wasn't sure. I thought that was considered a glitch, and so I was a little bit worried. You can look in Discord. I asked, did I glitch?
Oh, really?
Oh, I thought that was after the race.
No, that was right after I killed Honey Bottom.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, did I glitch?
Yeah, so we were talking a little bit about it during your races, actually. That's actually allowed because you're just doing like a lot of damage, but you're doing it in just the intended ways. You're not doing any glitches or anything at all to get more damage than actually possible with real intended ways or game mechanics. But yeah, good fight.
I'm glad, because I wasn't planning on doing that. It happened, so I could have been just screwed right there.
Alright, well, now for the tough question. I asked Scoutman, I gotta ask you, Ihrving. Do you have a favorite and or least favorite track as far as like bosses go?
I've had time to think about this because I've heard this question thrown around every single race. So I had to go with Clip Joint Calamity just because I just love that song so much, and I think Ribby and Croaks are probably my favorite boss. As for my least favorite, probably like Dramatic Fanatic or something like that. It's one of those kind of like, I agree with you, Salmon. It's one of those. It's just not very memorable. It doesn't have a lot of good riffs or anything like that.
Well, looking a little bit ahead here, I mentioned that Scoutman will be facing Calaba in the next round of the main bracket, and it looks like, Ihrving, you will be fighting Justin in the secondary bracket. So both
Okay.
actually had some pretty good races.
Yeah, definitely pretty good races. And remember that tomorrow we're gonna have, I think it's like 3 matches tomorrow. So
Yeah,
it's gonna be pretty good as well.
Pull that up real quick. So those two are going to be great. There are no more scheduled races tonight. The next race will be tomorrow at 11 a.m. with Optimistic Gamer and one of the easy favorites for this tournament, the Mexican Runner. Now, a little bit with him, like, it'll be interesting. He does. My understanding is that he doesn't practice a lot of current patch. More so did it just because people were taking his records. And so it'll be interesting to see how he fares, I think, overall. There's also a match tomorrow at 3 in the afternoon. It's Orange Puddings versus 2C+. And then we take a small break as of right now, and after that we have a couple on Sunday and one on Monday. If you follow, I think there's, if you go to the bracket challenge thing, there will be a link to the schedule there. And of course, you can check the Speed Gaming schedule to see when things are scheduled, what channel they're going to be on, etc. I guess there's not much else to say. Does anyone have any?
I just want to say, well, congratulations to both runners once again, and to the chat here, to the public. Remember to show them some love if you enjoyed the race. If you like to watch some more Cuphead action, make sure to follow them both, and make sure to follow the other runners here in the Cuphead tournament. Definitely pretty good that we got a tournament going with this many participants. And well, I'm just excited to see what else comes up with the tournament here.
GG again, John. I'm going to head out for now. Thanks again, Salmon and Dino, for the commentary, and y'all have a great night.
You
too, Ihrving.
Good match, GG.
Right, anything on your end, Scoutman?
No, I'm just happy to participate. I would have been happy losing first round, and I'm just happy. I'm even happier that I get to continue on in the normal bracket.
Well, we certainly appreciate you guys and everyone else who's participating in the tournament for actively participating. I mean, all of our work in getting this set up means nothing if we don't have people willing to help out and willing to actually run. So, just hearing that makes me feel good, and to know that everyone seems to be enjoying this. Thanks to Speed Gaming for agreeing to host us and working with us to get this kicked off and get the restreams going. Certainly appreciate everything they do and their cooperation and getting this going. I think that's about all we have. So it looks right now, looks like there's a Super Metroid race over on Speed Gaming 2. And on Speed Gaming 3, there is a Plague of Shadows race. And then there's some stuff coming up at 10, being some Super Metroid, some Zelda 1, and some Rockman 2. So if you like some good races, go check out some of the other channels, check out the Speed Gaming schedule, see what's coming up that you want to watch. Highly recommend it. So I think with that, we're going to call it a night, and hope to see you around for some of the other.
All right. Well, thank you, Salmon. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, John. Have a good night, everybody.
Good night.